guys, welcome to the Hollywood Dreams podcast. This is your host Santi, along with my other fellow host Dave. Hey Dave, how are you?
I'm good, Santi. How you doing?
I'm all right, man. And welcome to the show, Chuck Oney from the band Oney. Hey
Hey
Chuck, how
guys,
are you?
how's it going? How
What's
you
up,
doing?
brother?
Hanging.
Awesome,
Ohio in the
awesome.
house.
Yeah.
It's nice to have you here. Are you originally from Ohio or
No, I've lived here though since basically since 1990. But my dad was in the Air Force, so I moved around a lot. But actually, Oney started in Kentucky because I went through my high school years in
oh,
Kentucky,
okay?
and early, and then I went to college in Kentucky. So I started Oney in Kentucky. But we got a guitar player from West Virginia. We got a bass player from Proctorville, Ohio. So we were in that tri-state area. So we just basically, we always until we moved to Columbus, we were just basically like a Kentucky band, or if we were playing West Virginia, we were a West Virginia band. So because we had guys from both, states. So there was two of us from Kentucky and one from Ohio and one from West Virginia. So
Yeah, okay, all right.
yeah. So but I lived in so since I graduated college, I went only relocated to Columbus right after that.
Awesome,
And
So
what was
nice.
basically,
the
yeah, I've been in Ohio longer than anywhere else I've ever lived. So I guess
what
I'm
was
an
the
Ohioan
Columbus scene like back in the day?
now.
What
what was the
what was
sorry,
the
say that
Columbus
again.
scene like back in the day?
Oh man, I mean, the Al Rosa was at its prime, and it was great. Like, we when we first moved up here, it was still before grunge hit
Hmm.
and tribute band city. So it was great, man. You go to the Al Rosa, and it was packed, like 5 nights a week. So yeah, I mean, they were like Thursday through Sunday, and it would be packed and national acts. So yeah, so we caught the tail end of that, when we moved to Columbus because we didn't move till the end of 1990, and it was maybe it was Columbus is a little slow, so it took a little while before the grunge really kicked in here. So it
Gotcha.
probably didn't kick in till only broke up in July of '92, and it was kind of after that's when the whole tribute band and grunge thing took over after that. Not because we broke up, obviously, but we didn't feel any bad.
Your
But
guy's
we didn't.
fault.
Yeah, no, I mean we didn't feel any of that. But when I was looking for players for another band after Oni broke up, it was definitely the scene had changed. So yeah,
Mhm. So you guys, when did you guys get started? What year was that?
we formed January 1st, 1987,
Okay.
and we lasted until July 1st, like 1992, the first go round. So yeah,
Wow. So the first of the year,
yeah.
1987, was that planned?
Well,
Was that like, all right, we're gonna do this new year, new us?
yeah, I had been in cover bands, like traveled cover bands. I traveled around, and we were all kind of in an '80s slant, but it was not original bands. It was cover bands, and I was always kind of just the singer guy, not really the leader guy. And then the last cover band I was in, we fired our leader drummer guy, and they made me the leader. So I kind of had to deal with agents and bars and handling that. So unfortunately, with that band, not too long after that happened, we had some issues. We had a truck basically blow up, and we were in debt pretty hard. So the guitar player just basically said bye bye, and he kind of was the guy in the band. So I had said, you know what, I'm going to start my own band. I'm gonna, Bon Jovi, Dio, Dokken, they're all big right now. I said I'm gonna start my own band. I'm gonna name it after myself because I'm gonna put the funding in the beginning, and that way,
Okay.
if somebody quits, I don't have to break up the band because I always knew it took a little while to get going, and at that point, I was always in bands less than a year, and they would break up. And I was just like, I'm not going to do that anymore. So that's why I had met a bass player friend of mine in a former band. We actually played in a band together with Zoltan Chaney, that's Vince Neil's drummer now.
Hmm.
Um, Back in the '80s, we played together with his band. I had moved away to join a cover band, and then when I came back after I left the two cover bands, or after they broke up, I should say, uh, I said, you know what? Let's meet January 1st. Let's go check out a band. Let's talk. And, by the time the night was done, we were forming a new band. And I said, all right, well, we're going to call it my name. And of course, that night he was cool with it, but a year later he wasn't so cool with it. So he wasn't in the band very long.
Gotcha.
Uh,
Gotcha.
But yeah,
Did you
that's moving forward, January 1st.
you guys
mhm.
in that short time, did you guys ever think about hitting the LA scene and doing any of that?
Well, here's the deal. I was friends with the guys who were friends of mine that had moved out. Our drummer had left our band after we released Good Guys Wear Black, and he moved to LA. I couldn't go because I was in college and I signed a bunch of grants that funded our early recordings. And basically, I got money to go to college, but I took it and went into the recording studio. And there was a paperwork mishap, and I ended up getting back paid by the time my parents paid for all my tuition and books and stuff, rent. So when I got the money back, my parents were like, "Well, you can do whatever you want with it. It's all right. Your schooling is already paid for." But I had signed a GI Bill grant and all that stuff, and I had to graduate. I had to get a 4-year degree, and I had to maintain a C average. So when all that was in, I was still in college. So I mean, we would play on the weekends, and I would drive an hour and a half and go to college during the week. And if we played Wednesday or Thursday, I would drive and then drive back. And my professors used to laugh at me if they saw me on Friday morning because I'd have sunglasses on to hide my eyeliner. And 'cause I was going to school in Kentucky, kind of redneck. And my professors knew I was in a band, and they'd all go, "Oh, so you must have had a gig last night. What time did you get home?" About 4. But so I was in college, so I couldn't go. But Jerry, our drummer, Jerry Lawson, went out there and he was friends with the guys that were in Southgate. He knew Jace
Okay.
from Southgate very well. So the whole time they were Bite the Bullet and they were doing their demo deal, which was about a year,
Mhm.
Jerry would call us and come visit us on the holidays and stuff and go, those guys are getting paid $300 a week to just write songs, and we should really come out there. We would probably get signed and all this stuff, but I couldn't. So I was like, well, that's great. And who knows if we're going to get signed, but I can't. I got 2 more years of school to do. So I couldn't. When I did finally graduated, we decided to move to Columbus because our drummer, Kyle Virgin, was going to go to Divide Computer School, and he wanted to get his degree. He ended up going for a little bit and he quit. But we liked Columbus, and by that time the scene was changing, but we didn't know how things were going to be. And there were a few bands out of Columbus that was in Cleveland that was kind of making some noise, and we thought, well, so no, I never went out there. I never even visited because me and my good friend that was out there, we got into a falling out right about the time he got out there. Not Jerry the drummer, but another friend that he lived with. And so yeah, but we knew all about South Gang. I knew when they were Bite the Bullet, I knew all about, they even used my buddy Jerry's snare drum on that record. So he's in
Oh
the
wow.
credits. Yeah, he's in the credits. And my friend Tony, the guy I kind of had a falling out with, he is in the credits, but they spelled his name wrong. So but so
But
yeah,
it
so
is good.
I never went out there, but we had friends did. We were friends with this band, Still Rose, from our area that went out there.
Mhm.
Scott Carr, our guitar player, his best friend, a bass player, they grew up together. He went out there. So I had friends that went out there, but unfortunately, they didn't get very far. So, that whole scene
Right.
changed right after that. So 5 years later, they
Yeah.
were all moving back. In 93, they all moved back to our hometowns. So yeah.
Yeah.
So that first 7-inch you guys released, do you guys do you still have a copy of that?
Oh, I still have copies of it. Yeah. But we don't have very many. It's funny because I was always in every band kind of missing the wave. In
Mhm.
Oney, we released that on vinyl right as cassette singles were all huge. So then we released year later, Good Guys Wear Black on cassette. Right as CDs were coming huge. Right as CDs were coming huge. Fast forward in 2014, I released my solo album on CD. Vinyl has made a comeback. So we were always kind of missing that. So when we had that record out, um, people like, we gave them to radio stations and we sent them off to record companies and stuff like that. People were just kind of like, it's record. I can't play a record in my car. Sorry. So
Right.
so now it's weird getting people like, matter of fact, one of our first gigs in Columbus, I had a box of 50 of those 45s and I set them on the stage, but we were a new band in Columbus. And I didn't know then how very clicky Columbus scene is. And I said on the stage as we were playing, I said, free, grab them, take them. And while we were doing our set, nobody came up to get them.
Oh
And
no.
finally, this one old guy kind of came up and grabbed the box and took off. And I don't think he was a fan of the band. He just was like, hey, nobody's taking these records, so I might as well grab them. And
Free
to this
shit,
day,
right?
I would love to see that. I have not seen it surface anywhere. But I've been told Scott, our guitar player, sold an extra one he had for $50 to somebody about 6 months ago. I don't have any. So,
Wow.
I mean, I got two, but one of them is all scratched up, and the other one I just found. I'm keeping that one, But yeah, it's crazy. I've had people from Denmark like email me and try to ask it. Hey, can you ask a family member? So I've told my family members. But did you guys see how much our demo went on cassette?
Right. You gotta warn them. Like, nobody sell the record.
Yeah. No, so I just found out our demo went on eBay. A demo copy I had sent to studio, somebody that worked at Electric Lady in New York. I sent her a copy back in the day. It went on eBay for $652 for a demo cassette. If you search Oney the demos, it pops up on metal cassettes, like metal bands. It pops up as like one of the 10th most expensive cassettes. Yeah, I was like, yeah, it's crazy, man. And I've had so many people ask me about that if I will sell them, and I'm like, no, it's
I'll have to search your stuff up on Discogs and see what they got floating around on there.
Yeah, there's not too much of that, but search Oney the demos 1987 and see what happens. Somebody had turned me onto it when it was on sale on eBay.
Yeah.
And I know the person. It took me a while to figure out who it was that sold it, but once I figured it out, I'm still friends with this person, and she was going through a really, really rough time. So I was like, hey, she gets $652 for a demo that I made. It's in my handwriting too. My mom's address, my mom's phone number. Because I still lived at home when I was in college. I lived at home. My mailing address was my mom's address. I lived in a trailer in college, but then I spent the weekends with my mom. So, and dad.
Well, that's pretty awesome that it's actually sold for that amount.
I know.
You see stuff like ridiculous amounts of money, but they don't sell.
Yeah.
So
I'm guessing it's either a big time collector that has money to burn, or somebody that's going to make bootleg CDs of it. So it's either one of the two.
Well, you'll know if that starts popping up.
Yeah, I've been looking for it, but I haven't seen it yet. There's a real diehard fan. But yeah, it's crazy.
Well, there is a copy of the Good Guys Wear Black cassette going for $90 on Discogs right now.
You know what's funny about that is when Oney broke up, I had just reordered another run of cassettes, and then Oney broke up. So when Oney broke up, me and the guitar player started another band. It was kind of like South Gang and the Marvelous Three. We cut all our hair and we were like, shh, don't tell everybody we were in a hair metal band. It's the 90s now. So we were the Vague. And I literally would open up Oney cassettes, put tape over the cassette thing, and pop them in a cassette recorder and record over that Good Guys Wear Black. So we were writing originals. And I think about it now, and I'm like, damn, I quit doing it after about maybe 20, because I was like, you know what? I just had this weird feeling. I bet this stuff's going to come around again. So, and it did eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I must imagine there's a lot of people out there that wish they held on to their demo cassettes from back in the day right now.
Oh yeah, that's yeah.
I need to find that 7-inch. That's what I want to find.
Yeah, well, like I said, that Good Guys Wear Black is not the demo that went for $652. That's our original demo with our original band with 5 songs. So, and 2 of them were covers. They actually did a Raspberry song. We were talking about that offline. So yeah.
And that was only one. You only had one of those, right? Or did you have?
No, we had them and we gave them to musicians and stuff, but there's only been one ever sold online. So it's yeah, we never sold them. we gave them away, and this one sold online. So that became like one of the 10 most heavy metal. And I don't know, we weren't really metal, but yeah, it's funny. It's but whenever stuff like that pops up, you'd be surprised how many people message me. And first of all, they always ask, "Are you the one selling this, or do you know about this?" And I usually don't, and I'm like, "No, I'm not selling it. No, I didn't know about it, but I'll keep my eye on it." And it
Yeah.
took me a while to figure out who the person was, because we sent that demo everywhere, LA, New York. I got rejection letters all the time. You guys aren't what we're looking for. So even though we didn't move out there, LA, we were sending stuff out there constantly,
Yeah.
Right.
and a lot of those
Yeah.
45s.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've been checking. I've been listening to the Good Guys Wear Black demo today, and "Nice Girls" is such a catchy song. I like that.
Yeah, yeah, that was written by Kim Coster. He wrote that one all on his own, and yeah, he had some funny lyrics in that too. Some of that stuff it's funny to me now. At the time, it was like, okay, but it's all in good fun. We were never, we never caused any harm to anybody. We were just all in good fun. So yeah,
Wow, man, having fun making the music.
yeah,
Right.
And
yeah.
at the time, that's the song. Those are the songs people wanted to hear. You
Well,
know.
yeah, and a little tidbit to that song. The day we were supposed to record it, Trace Ritter, who later in the '90s would be in a band called Chalk Farm, he was our lead guitar player then, and he didn't show up to the studio. So Mickey Daniels, our rhythm guitar player, he ended up later swapping leads out with Scott Carr. He had to come up with some solo, with a lead guitar solo, like that day. I won't say on the spot because we did like comp it and stuff, but he wasn't supposed to play lead guitar that day. And our Trace Ritter didn't show up, and I was like, "Dude, it's you. You got to play the lead," and that's what you hear is him doing. That's what he did.
He
Wow,
saved
that's
the day.
cool.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, nonetheless, I was not happy at Trace Ritter, even though when we reunited a couple of years ago, he played and a couple times with us. But back in the '80s, I was pissed.
Yeah. Did you guys ever sit there and go, okay, we got the music out. Now we need to do a music video. Did you guys
Yeah,
ever consider like a video?
well, we did a video for "When You're Ready for Love." It's on YouTube.
Yeah, I
It's
saw it.
that
Yeah.
Did
was
you
my
see it? I
that
haven't
was
seen
my
it.
that was my college project to graduate. Only thing is now it's kind of the copy that's floating out on YouTube is kind of blurry. Like we
Okay.
put it up on YouTube like in the early days of YouTube, and it was shot on VHS anyway, so it's going to be kind of blurry. But yeah, that was my college project to graduate. All my classmates helped me with another to make that video. I directed it, I edited it. Um, but there was another video that was shot too. My video group split into two groups, my video class. So there was another video shot for the song Lady of the Night, but that video never got finished. And
Okay.
we were outside, like in this college campus. We were outside of this college parking lot with the lights on from the football field and all that stuff. And we were playing out in I've never seen not any footage from it, but we shot it all night long from about 10 p.m. to about 4 a.m. And we were lip syncing Lady of the Night. And that was supposed to be the other half of the college class I was in. That was their project. I wasn't involved in that. We were just the talent. And I've never seen in it. And they had a cool, like they had the camera was about, I don't know, maybe 50 yards away from us. And they, sat somebody on the hood of a car and they were coming closer and closer and closer. And by the time the song starts, when I start singing, they were up on us and there was cars all around us with headlights on. I wish I never got to see the footage. I wish I did, but it would have been a cool video. I actually told my professor when they didn't finish it, if you give me the footage, I will edit it and I will finish it for them. They can get the grade for it, but I'll finish it. And he wouldn't do it.
Wow.
Wow, man, that would be
Yeah,
awesome to see. That's my
I,
favorite
I,
song on that
I,
album too. I
yeah,
love that song.
I would love to find the footage for that. So if you
Man, that
see the
would be
copy
really
up,
cool.
there's a couple different copies on YouTube floating around of When You're Ready for Love. And I need to find the master and put it back on there because it got somehow over the years it got blurrier and blurrier. So, but you can
Yeah,
get the gist.
that's
You can
right.
get the
Yeah,
gist of
yeah.
what we're doing.
That was kind of. I didn't know if it was because of YouTube or what happened there. But yeah,
Yeah,
um,
I think the codex of the YouTube is like, yeah, I think somehow it got when they revamped it got like crushed or something. I don't know.
right, right, yeah. Well, but your stuff got picked up by Demon Doll Records a few years ago.
Yes, yes, yeah. We were on Retrospect Records in the mid 2000s. They put out Good Guys Wear Black by itself on CD, and then they did Bust Them Down. And then we went to Rocklahoma and played, and they helped us out a little bit, and then that just kind of dried up, and then Demon Doll, got Demon Doll Music Group now, I guess is what it's called. They contacted us and they wanted to do like a compilation, and we had because what happened with Retrospect, we had a full reunion live CD. We recorded it live at the Al Rosa Villa here in Columbus. You know, the legendary club where Dimebag was, unfortunately murdered at. We recorded it there, and it sounded great. And the one song that you hear on the Demon Doll, but we ended up before that we put out our own version of it called "Good Guys Are Back," um, and that was just on iTunes. But we released it. I released it myself on during COVID on a disc. So,
Hmm.
but Demon Dolls released us April 3rd, 2020. That came out. That the Legacy. So, and
Man,
they did a good job, man. They did a really good job. It came out great.
yeah, it's a huge CD as well. I mean, 18 songs, right?
Yeah, yeah, and he said that's the most he could do because, like I said, I gave him like tons of live stuff that was on the Good Guys Are Back,
Uh-huh.
but then that's when I released it myself because he didn't use it, and Retrospect Records never used it. They were supposed to put a whole CD out, so I was like, well, if nobody's going to use it, I might as well just put it out myself.
Right.
So
Yeah,
but
but is
it was a
that?
great show. We reunited, and unfortunately, Mickey Daniels, our guitar player, has passed away in 2010.
Mm,
So it's something to remember him by.
yeah. But are you guys? Does this mean that you guys might play any other shows in the future or any like reunions or?
Well, we did a reunion. We do this thing. I do this thing every Saturday Memorial Day weekend called Hooligans Homecoming in Huntington, West Virginia. It's to benefit a no-kill animal shelter and facing hunger food shelter. And Oney's reunited for that 3 times. The last one was, let's see, one year we didn't do it on Memorial Day. Um, we did it in the Labor Day, or maybe that was after COVID. Um, but we reunited. Yeah, we reunited 3 times. There's no plan for a reunion this year because Scott Carr, a guitar player, is not going to be there for this one. He has a cover band he plays in called Radio Tramps. Um, but yeah, I mean, we did it. We done it one off. We did only thing is the last time we did it, our guitar player Trace that filled in with us, he didn't want to do any of our songs, so we did all covers. So it was kind of like okay. But we have another guy that fills in for Mickey Daniels named Bill Patrick. He's a friend of ours, but he was a young guy back in the day, but he knew Mickey, our guitar player. So we've had him fill in. We did do a few Oney tunes. And then one time it was just me, Scott, and Bub, and I played rhythm guitar. And we did I think we did When You're Ready for Love and Lady of the Night. I think that was the only two we did. The rest of them were like Kiss songs and Cheap Trick, stuff like that.
Mhm.
So
Right.
no plans. I did not know that Scott and Trace were not going to be at the Hooligans thing this year until like maybe 2 months ago. But when I don't start hearing from them guys like in February what songs they want to do, I sort of figured something was up. So
Yeah.
Yes.
that's okay. We can always do it next year. It's always for charity. We don't get paid anything, but a lot of our old friends and fans that grew up with us come out and they see us, and that's always fun. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no hard feelings. We just all in different bands and got different things going on. And I would love to like Trace. The last time asked me if I'd be interested in maybe booking some like little mini tours, but it's it's a lot to do by yourself. And so I was just like, that's when I was 20 and I did all that stuff by myself, it was no problem. But I'm a lot older now and I got other things going on plus work. So
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so
Yeah.
it's not as easy as it used to be.
Yes.
I don't know how it was in Columbus, but here in Cleveland, a lot of the venues would pair up local acts with national acts that would come through. Did they do
Yes.
that? Or did you guys get to like rock out
Oh
with
yeah.
anybody?
Yeah, when Huntington, West Virginia, we were known as the band to open up for people. The first band was Helix,
Oh,
great
Nice.
guys. They were awesome. We opened up for them in the Wild in the Streets tour. We opened up for Leatherwolf on their first run.
Oh, cool.
They were good guys. We opened up for Enough's Enough, who ended up like being our buddies, and then Faster Pussycat. Then we moved to Columbus, and we opened up for Tough, Child's Play. I'm sure I'm probably missing a couple. But yeah, no, we did that.
Okay,
Like I said,
cool.
in Huntington, we were the go-to band when they had national acts come through. It was all
Mhm.
new thing for Huntington, West Virginia at the time. So we were kind of like the guinea pig. If it wasn't like a fair, just coming through on the bar tour, like Helix was on tour with Night Ranger at the time and they had a day off. So they wanted to play a club. So that's how we played with them. And those guys were,
Cool.
I was nervous, man. Those guys were like the coolest dudes in the world. Funny story about that is we were all young, man. I was so nervous meeting those guys. I'd never met anybody famous in my life besides Muhammad Ali. That's a whole nother story. But so when their singer Brian said to us, "Hey man, when we get done, come and join us in the dressing room." And we were like, "Okay." Soon as they finished last encore, they run into this little tiny dressing room in this bar, little tiny bar, and four of us basically went running in, like, I mean, right after them, to the point where I saw the drummer was changing his pants and he was taking his saw way more than he was pulling his pants down. I saw way more than I needed to see. And he looked at me and he's like, "Get the F out of here." And we all ran out there and we were really embarrassed about it, And Brian, the singer, came over to us. He said, "Hey, when I said you guys can come join us in the backstage, I didn't mean like soon as we were done." And we laughed about it, but it was embarrassing. Not for the drummer, for us.
Yeah,
That's one drumstick I didn't need to see. But
Yeah.
no, they were cool guys, man. They were really cool. We couldn't ask for a better band, and they sounded great in this tiny club. I could not have believed, and they had so much energy, and I just was like, that was eye opening. Like these guys are in this tiny club in West Virginia, and they are just like they might as well be playing Madison Square Garden, and they were
yeah,
so tight. It was just like, wow, good band.
yeah. They really are.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. So when we talk with the Hollywood guys, and they all mention how they spend the days like handing out flyers, uh, like doing like public relations basically on the streets, right? Was the
Yeah.
same, in Columbus back in the
Oh
day?
yeah, yeah. You used to go to the Al Rosa. I almost got knifed a couple times outside the Al Rosa. You would go and flyer the cars and hand them out to girls, just like it was just like LA, but wasn't as packed and cool and all that stuff. And it was cold in the wintertime. Um, but one time when we first moved to Columbus, this drunk guy kept came up to me, and I was actually by myself. I had left my girlfriend at the time and told the guys in the band, in between bands, I'm gonna walk out here and flyer these cars real quick. So I was by myself, and it was me in this parking lot, and this guy kept come up to me, this drunk dude, older guy, and he kept asking me if I knew this girl's name, and I was like, I have no. We were new in Columbus, so I was like, no, I don't know who you're talking about. And he
Mm.
basically was like, bullshit. Yeah, you do. And I was like, no. Well, he whipped out a knife. He
Wow.
whipped out a knife. Right as that was happening, a singer for another band was doing the same thing. He was flying on the other side of the parking lot. He came over to me and he just saw the look on my face without seeing the guy. And he said, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then he turns around and realizes this drunk guy has this knife, right?
Right.
So he asked the singer if he knew this girl, and this guy's like, "No." And I'm sitting there thinking, "Damn, man, I'm gonna get this guy stabbed who's just trying to come over and say hello to me." And so we're standing there. This guy's like swinging the knife around, but he's also very drunk.
Yeah.
And so he's like, oh, fuck. So I happened to actually to be right in front of my car, my station wagon at the time. And I still hadn't had my tags changed from Kentucky to Ohio. So I point to my car. Somehow I was like standing right in front of my car. And I was like, look at this car. Look at these tags. They say Kentucky on it. I'm not from Ohio. I don't know who you're talking about. So the guy's looking at the tags and he drops the knife. And I'm sitting there thinking, I should grab that knife away from him. But I'm also thinking, well, maybe the other guy will do it. The other singer guy will do it. And we both just kind of looked at each other. And then we watched the guy pick it back up and like, I'm going to stab you guys. Finally, a security guard from the Al Rosa came out. And this dude was huge. And he was like, is there trouble over here? And I started waving my hands like, come over here. So he got the guy out of there. But I was just like, me and the other singer went, we're kind of shook. So we went inside the bar because, you never know what's going to happen to these things. And I was like, dude, I can't believe he dropped a knife and you and I just both looked at him and stared at it. And the other singer guy goes, I thought you were going to grab it. And I was like, I thought you were going to grab it. So we did flyer stuff and we had goofy, fun stories like that. I'm glad I'm alive.
Yeah, about to say, at least nobody got stabbed. And
no,
I wonder if that guy ever found the girl, though.
Yeah, not getting stabbed is a sign of a good night. Yeah.
Hey, you think he ever found his girl?
I don't think so. I think she probably left. I think she left with somebody else because he was drunk.
I think I saw that guy outside my apartment earlier.
Yeah, he might still be there.
You know that girl. It took him this long to get from Columbus to Lodi.
So by 92, what was it like? The things kind of fizzled out, or did you guys decide, hey, yeah, this is as far as we're gonna go with this. I'm gonna try something new.
Well, actually, the singer guy that I was just talking about, our drummer, guitar player, decided to. They kind of gave me an ultimatum. They didn't want to play with our now dearly departed guitar player, Mickey Daniels, who I had started the band with. He was one of the only original members left with me. Mickey was one of the best musicians he taught me everything I know about harmony singing and all that kind of stuff. Amazing guitar player. He could play Eddie Van Halen. He could play Yngwie. He could play Ace Frehley. Whatever you wanted, he could play. He was kind of had a Keith Richards kind of vibe. He wasn't perfect. He wasn't technical. He would run around and do solos, but he was amazing. But he also in our band was the party guy. He was the Ace Frehley, the guy that sometimes would just be too fucked up, and so
Right.
He was always a wild card. When he was on, well, I used to always tell him, I was like, dude, when you're on. You're like one of the best musicians I play. But when you smoke pot, which he was a pothead, and try to play, you're horrible. I'm a better guitar player with you, and I'm a hack. So he was the nicest guy you'll ever meet, but he could never say no to people. And unfortunately, it was amazing how wherever we went, wherever town we played, immediately the bad guys found him. And, we're partying with him. We're in our hotel room, and it was just like, the drug guys and the low level dudes. So the other two guys were kind of tired of his, partying and unreliability. So they basically told me, we're going to give you an ultimatum. You need to figure out if you want to play with him or if you want to play with us. So I had come up with a scheme. I had wanted to play with those guys, but I had come up with the scheme. I did not want to fire him because he had been in the band so long. So basically what I was saying is I was going to quit the band. I was going to break up the band. And then we were going to let the band die down for a month. And then I was going to decided I changed my mind and restart the band with the other guitar player and drummer. Our bass player at the time we didn't like, so we wanted to get rid of him anyway. So that was the plan. So I told the band, July, I'm quitting. I'm done. I want to do something else. And then I had met this is back in the days before online where people would call you to audition. So I had gotten a phone call from a bass player and another guitar player. and I was supposed to meet him at the place that we rehearse at. So I show up to the place that we rehearse at, and the owner was a really good friend of mine. He's like, "Hey man," he goes, "Is Oney still together?" And we were trying to keep it on the hush hush, and I was going to bring these guys in to audition. And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." I said, "I'm actually meeting two new musicians today." And he was like, "Really?" Because Scott, the guitar player, and Kyle, the drummer, have been rehearsing with that singer guy that I almost got stabbed with for about a month and a half now. So that was pretty much it for the band. I called those guys and I said, "You know what, man, I'm done." So
Yeah.
then I actually ended up calling Mickey and telling him the truth. Hey, this is what was going to happen. This was what was going to go down. I'm sorry, I was a bad friend. I chose the wrong guy. But at that point, the damage was done and music was changing. And I
Yeah.
think everybody in Oni kind of wanted to do something different. We were all kind of, you know, like it was time for a change, basically. We've been together for a while. We gave it a really good run, and we just kind of. I was only disappointed because we were almost done with what became Bust 'Em Down. We were almost done recording that. I had one more night to mix it, and I still called Scott, the guitar player, and said, "Hey, meet me at the studio next week. We're finishing this mix. I don't know what we're going to do with it. I may just put it on my own, but I want to see this thing through." And so I went there. I was with my now ex-wife, was my wife then, and he never showed up. So I mixed it by myself, and then we kept it on the shelf until Retrospect took it out, put it out in 2006. But so, and I'm buddies with those guys now. Me and Scott, the guitar player, ended up being in a band called the Vague after that, and the drummer Kyle ended up joining the Vague. So I mean, it was just, but at the time, it was just one of those things.
Right.
We kind of
Drama.
imploded basically.
Yeah, there's always some drama that's necessary.
Yeah, there's always, dude. I put out so many drama fires back then, and I mean, I was the guy everybody went to because it was my band. When everything was good, it was good. But when everything was bad, it was my band, your band. It's what this gig went south. It's your fault. I dealt
Well,
with a lot of
I
that.
had I had my fair share of band drama last year. They might remember this. I'm a singer as well. At least I try to be a singer,
Okay,
and
yeah.
I had this band with this friend of mine that we've been talking about having a band for so many years now. We finally decided to pull a band together, and we played our first show. The 2 days later, I got like removed from the group chat that we have. Like no, I said, so I messaged one of the guitarists and say, "Hey, what the fuck? Was that like a mistake on your side? I'm hoping." And and he said, "Oh, yeah, there's a couple of musicians on the audience in the audience that said that you kind of missed a lot of notes and your tempo was bad. So I don't know how to handle this, but basically, you're out of the band."
Yeah,
Okay.
it's I got kicked out of the band. It's like I actually I said I think I earlier I left the band when I was out in Washington State. The band was called Fanatic, and I got kicked out. And the gal that was selling that demo was friends of that band. That's how I know her. So I got a little revenge. They kicked me out, and then I joined a band called St. Michael. And then after St. Michael, I was in Oney, started Oney. So Fanatic kicked me out, but at the time, they did kick me out. They got rid of me, but I was actually kind of wanting to quit because I was writing songs and they weren't here. They didn't want to have anything to do with them. But so I'm really good friends with all those guys, except for the drummer because he's not on Facebook or any of that stuff. But when I found out who was selling that the Oney demo cassette, and it sold for $652, I texted the drummer about 2 weeks ago, and it was February 14th that cassette sold. So I said, "Hey man," I said, "guess how much the Oney demo sold on eBay? You're not even gonna know how much it sold for." And he said, "What, like $8?" And so I texted him 652. And then I said, "Guess how much?" Because that band kicked me out, and then they made a demo. I said, which was called the Fanatic. The band was called Fanatic demo. They actually sent me a copy later on after they made it. But I said, "Guess how much the Fanatic demo went for?" And he was like, "How much?" And I went, "Nothing. Nobody bid on it." I said, "Even after 30 years, I'm gonna rub it in, man." You kicked the wrong guy out.
Right. I mean, 600. That's crazy. I mean, you
That
should
is
ask
not.
if you're getting royalties for that
Yeah, I
thing,
know. Yeah.
right?
All right, Chuck. All right. On
Do you?
it's
Yeah.
Hollywood Dreams podcast. Time to come clean. Who did you put up to sell to buy that demo?
Well, I could use 652 bucks, but I know her name is Mary. But I did not put her up to it.
That's okay. We're not gonna snoop up in your money laundering schemes with Oney.
Let me tell you a side story. Side story about Mary. Mary used to work at Electric Ladyland in the 80s. And one time on MTV News, when MTV had news, it flashed up that the Dexys Midnight Runner, Come On Eileen singer, was in Electric Ladyland, and he tried to leave the studio with his masters in hand. You don't know those masters when you record; the record company does.
Mhm.
Right.
So on the MTV News, they said Kevin Rowland tried to leave Electric Ladyland. He got tackled outside on the steps by a staff member. Now the guys in the Fanatic band, they went to high school with Mary, and she was kind of a, kind of a take no shit kind of gal, right? So they looked at they when they heard that, they said, "I bet $100 it's Mary. $100 it's Mary." And it turns out it was Mary. Yeah, it was. She tackled this singer for "Come On Eileen." got, got the master tapes back. It was the album after that he was recording, or his first solo album, something like
Wow.
that. It's a small world,
Not
man. We're
getting
all
studio.
connected. We're all connected, Dave.
Yeah, apparently. Wow.
I've been to Grandpa's Cheese Bar, and I know you have.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm trying to get Stancy out here so I can take him to different
Yeah.
places around here.
Yeah.
Heck
I
yeah.
mean, we can use some of those the royalties out of that Oni sale for a plane ticket. Yeah.
We'll fund your trip to America here, buddy.
Where are you located?
I'm in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Oh, nice, nice. Fund my
Yeah.
trip to come visit you.
Yeah,
I
I
already have
mean,
that plan to be out there.
yeah, we're planning a trip actually for next year. My last time up there was in 2019, but I didn't know Dave back then. Yeah, otherwise, I would have visited. But yeah,
But now you
yeah.
do.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
So, do you play music, Dave? Are you a musician?
I sang I sang in a couple bands. I was in a band. It's a funny story. We got booked to play Flashes. I don't know if you heard of Flash Gordon's. It was a club here in Cleveland. It was
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
big.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
A lot of bands came through, and they booked us one night, and we didn't have a band name, and we were like, oh yeah, come up with a band name, or this club's not going to let us do this. So me in all my intelligence, I thought if we went with a name that the girls would like, it would be awesome. It'd be all chicks there. So I was like, oh, let's call ourselves the Sex Toys, which I thought was a great name. But we weren't glam. It probably would have worked if we were like really glammed out or something.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
weren't. We were more like the Skid Row kind of look, the that kind of
Right.
Tesla type of thing. And so we went to Flashes and we got the show booked. And we get there and we're in the office and everything. They're like, all right, yeah, you're gonna play this date, blah blah blah. So go back and find out they booked us on a night with death metal, thrash,
Oh,
and bands.
oh,
And
that's not
you
good.
want to talk about you want to talk about four guys who were scared shitless going up on that stage. First of all, the Sex Toys was bad enough. I'm like, oh my god. So we had our first show as a Sex Toys is what we get. And actually, it was a horrible night for us playing. We sucked. We weren't ready. But the other bands were all cool. Everybody was cool with us.
Right.
And they busted our balls about the Sex Toys thing, but that was kind of to be
Oh yeah.
expected. And then yeah, so I sang for a while with that, and I also played bass. And but
That's
I never pursued it. More filmmaking was more my thing.
right,
So
right. Yeah. Well, I work in television, so yeah, that's my day gig is television. So
okay, okay.
um but yeah, I know what you're saying because when I was in that band St. Michael, we played Clarksville, Tennessee, this bar. At the time it was 1986, and Metallica was becoming huge with Master of
Mhm.
Puppets, and we played a thrash bar. We didn't know it was a thrash bar. And we did stuff like our heaviest song was Judas Priest, Breaking the Law. So
Mhm.
we did a lot of like pop stuff, and we did,
Right.
we did do like, we did like anywhere from John Cougar to, to Rat, but our heaviest song was Breaking the Law. So we were supposed to play this place for 4 nights, and they fired us after 2 nights because we weren't heavy enough, and the crowd was getting pissed because we must have played Breaking the Law at least once every set because they start yelling Metallica, Megadeth, all right, Breaking the Law. But only thing good about that is I ended up like becoming a friend with the stripper, so I got to, even though we got fired, I had a nice night.
Yeah, it always has its perks in the end.
Yeah.
Right. So in terms of inspiration for you picking up the instrument, it's well in your case singing. What bands made you wanna be a musician? What music
what got
made you?
what got me
Yeah,
started? Basically,
yeah,
what got
yeah.
me started? When I was a kid, I was very, very into the Beatles. I
Okay.
loved the Beatles, and then after that, it was my older brother was into Kiss when they first came out. So I was, he was playing all that stuff, and my brother was always playing like Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin and Alice Cooper and Grand Funk Railroad around the house. And I had an older brother. My sister was into like Sweet and Nazareth. So I had all those different influences, but pretty much when I was a kid, the only thing I thought existed was the Beatles, Kiss, and the Jackson Five. So
Oh,
those have, but as I became a singer and started singing in the bands, definitely Paul Stanley, definitely Eric Carmen from the Raspberries has been an influence. The Beatle guys, as far as singing goes, not so much, more like songwriting. But and I would say Robin Zander and Steven Tyler, they were the ones that that they made me go, I want to do this. Um, and even Mark Farner from Grand Funk Railroad, the guitar player singer. Those were probably the people. And as I went along, there was always like I got really into the Knack, the Get the Knack record. I loved Doug Feiger's vocals and stuff. So there was always like people, even in like when Oney came out, I got really into like Poison and Motley Crue's first record. There was always like little linchpins along the way that made me go, I want to do that. Um, and I found myself probably most like taking myself seriously and kind of practicing at it, even though I didn't realize I was practicing, but singing in my room with the tennis racket was like Paul Stanley's solo record. I started thinking, you know what? But I was actually a drummer when I started out, and I would jam with this one friend of mine that I later would be in the band St. Michael with. Um, and we would jam songs, and he was the guitar player and he would sing, and I was behind the drums. And I would just be like, dude, you're singing the wrong words. Give me the microphone. Paul Stanley sings this. So
hmm.
I would sing, and he started telling me, he's like, you know what? You got a pretty good voice. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, you got a pretty good voice. I didn't know it. So he ended up telling me, he said, you're a better singer than you are a drummer. You're an okay drummer, but you're a really good singer. And so he hired me for his band. Their singer had quit. And then they fired me about a month later. So I was so pissed off about that. I was like, this guy encouraged me. This guy, he was my buddy growing up and playing music with, but he would be encouraging and then like he would do something that would end up screwing me. But in retrospect, like he did when St. Michael broke up, he actually left the band that broke St. Michael up and I started Oney. The first band I was in went with that he kicked me out of, I said, you know what? I'm going to be in a band that's going to play all the stuff that I know my friends like, which was like Motley Crue's first record, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, and we were called Warlords. And ended up one of the guys in Warlords would later be in the band Hydrogen. Um, but So I started a band that was heavier in his band, and even though they were more popular than us, I was like, you know what? So I've always found like motivation along the way. You know, that's just kind of how I am. A lot of my songs are about that. I either get dumped by a girl and I write a song, and or a band kicks me out and I started another band. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
singing wise
Yeah.
was definitely my influences would definitely be Paul Stanley, Robin Zander, and Eric Carmen from the Raspberries.
Eric Carmen is a really
He's a
amazing singer.
he's a
I'm
great
a huge
singer.
fan of his. Yeah, and
His
he's a
solo
kind of.
stuff his solo stuff's a little poppy. I do like it, but man, in the Raspberries, he was a rocker, and I love it in the Raspberries.
But you just get lost in Patrick Swayze's eyes with
Yeah,
Hungry
yeah, Hungry Eyes.
Eyes.
Hey
uh,
man, that's just another thing for Ohio right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Exactly.
exactly. Yeah, but it's funny because how it's interesting really how every time we ask that question like bands that inspire people and all of that. They always mention so like 70% of the times they mention the Beatles.
Oh yeah.
It's amazing how big of an influence uh,
Yeah.
they were on so many people. Uh,
Well,
uh,
yeah. If you're a
and they only
songwriter, they
the
do.
other day I just realized they were only together for a couple of years. Really, it's like
Yeah, seven about
64.
well, technically about 10 years, but they were the Beatles and signed for from '63 to
7
'70.
years, right?
Yeah.
64
Yeah.
to what?
But you
To
got to remember the
77?
world was a lot different then. Everything wasn't
Yeah.
24/7. So when the Beatles released a record, it was like a big deal, every six
Oh,
months or
for
whatever it
sure.
was. Yeah.
For sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean they were the Beatles. I got into them when I was a kid, and I don't know, I just liked them, and I just remember like being a kid, and I was like in first grade, and I had this crush on this girl named Kathy, and I would take my tennis racket and I'd play the Beatles, and in my head I thought if I could just sing this song to her, she would like me, and that's like Gene Simmons says, it's all about girls. Nobody joins a band just to play music. It's usually about girls.
Oh, for sure. And I'm a huge fan of the Beatles as well. And I mean their earlier stuff is great. I mean it's poppy. It's like teeny bop stuff. It's good, but some of the later stuff it's so intricate and it's so good as well. It doesn't lose that catchiness either. I mean, for example, on the some of the songs on the Abbey Road album
Yeah,
are so complex, but they still have that pretty boy, funny poppy
yeah.
aura to them, right? So
Well, they crammed a lot of style and taste into those 7 years. I mean, I
Mhm.
myself personally, I like the early stuff, but I go
mhm.
through spells, and then I really probably the psychedelic stuff, Sergeant Pepper, Magical Mystery. That's probably my favorite. But then I also like the later stuff of Abbey Road and Let It Be. So I go through these phases of the Beatles. I tend to listen to the girl group stuff. That's why I describe them in the early days when they were trying to emulate girl groups. Um, I tend to go through that in the winter, and then when it gets kind of spring and dark, I tend to listen to Abbey Road and Get Back, and then when summer comes, that's when the summer of love and the psychedelics, and I'm ready to have a good time. I don't do psychedelics, but if I did, I'd listen to the Beatles.
Right. No, yeah, for sure. I mean, they changed in the music landscape
Yeah, yeah. If
forever.
you're a songwriter, yeah, I identify with John Lennon a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to think that he was killed so young as well. I mean, he was.
I remember that day. I was in school. And back then, our cable system didn't have like CNN 24 hours. They had like a teletype, which was like text, and it would come and scroll. And I got up that morning to go to school. And my dad was like, "Hey, I thought I heard on Saturday or on Monday Night Football that John Lennon got shot." And I was like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, I thought I heard that." Um, but my dad said he was like watching a football game. He's like half asleep, and he may have fell asleep when they were talking about it. So I immediately ran to the TV and like turned it on to that channel with the teletype. And I sat there for about 10 or 15 minutes thinking, however long it was to scroll through all the news. I was like, please don't be true. Please don't be true. Please don't be true. And then, yeah, it
Right.
was. I remember like it was yesterday. I was 15. So, yeah,
Yeah,
that was the
it was
first
definitely a a Monday Night Football game because the Miami Dolphins were playing. I know that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's from Howard Cosell. Yeah.
Yep, Howard
Howard
Cosell.
Cosell.
Yep,
Yeah.
I do. I mean, but it's crazy. It's and even though I didn't feel the effect of that, because when was that? 80? Is that 80?
1980. Yeah.
Yeah.
December of 1980.
So I would have been 6 years old at
Right.
that. But when Dimebag got shot,
Yeah.
and that was more like that. I
Same
felt
day too.
that I
Same
kind of,
day. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
which is
December
really
8th.
crazy,
Yeah. And I
really
actually
crazy.
lived about a mile and a half from the Al Rosa when that happened. And my roommate at the time was the biggest Pantera fan, and he wanted to go there. I have one of my good friends with that I'm going to go see Marvelous 3 with in October. They're the guys who used to be in South Gang.
Yeah, yeah.
They're reuniting in Atlanta. I'm going with my buddy Tank. He was our Oney roadie when we went to Rocklahoma in 2008, but
Uh,
we didn't know him in our heyday. He was in the crowd when that was happening,
wow.
and
Oh wow.
he was there when it was happening, and he still got scarred by it.
Man, I couldn't even imagine being in that crowd. And
Me either. He said he thought that they thought it was like part of the show at first until they realized. I mean, it wasn't. So I can't speak for him, but he doesn't like
wow.
to talk about it. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't blame him. I don't blame him.
yeah.
But no, that's cool. You're going to that Marvelous 3. Which night are you going? All three of those
Sunday.
gigs sold out so fast too.
Yeah. Well, we tried to get Friday because Scott Carr, the former Oney guitar player, the guy on Good Guys Wear Black that's got the black hair,
Yeah.
um, he said he was going to go with us. So when they went on sale, we were trying to get 3 tickets instead of 2. Well, we didn't get them. So then Saturday we were still trying to get 3 tickets. Let me hold up 3 instead of 2, and we didn't get them. So I texted Scott and I said, "Hey man," I said, "I think they're adding one more show for Sunday, but so far we haven't got any tickets." And Scott said, "Oh yeah, I got somebody else to get me tickets for Saturday. I'm good." So I was like, so I called Tank, and Tank said, "Well, if we're only getting 2 tickets," he goes, "I guarantee we'll get in," and we got in. So
That's cool. So you
thumbs
guys are
down
going
to you,
Saturday night
Scott.
then? What's that?
I was like, thumbs down to you, Scott, for not thinking of us and got your own ticket. Thumbs up to Marvelous 3.
Are you gonna be in the crowd like play Tainted Angel?
Yeah. I,
Yeah, I'm
I,
sure Butch will really like that.
Right.
I never saw South Gang. They played the Al Rosa when we were here, and I don't know why I didn't go see them, but I never saw them. But Scott and Kyle from the vet or from the Oney did. Our
Yeah.
drummer and our guitar player Scott, I was just talking about, they did, and they went one time where the singer was sick and Butch Walker sang all night. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen them. I've seen them twice. One at the Empire Concert Club, which was actually broadcast on WMMS. The live set. It was Thursday night concert series. They called it. And then I saw them at Flashes for the group therapy album, which was really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
That
okay.
was a
Yeah,
great show.
I never saw them, but I've seen Marvelous 3 probably 4 times, maybe 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, I've never
So
seen
yeah,
Marvelous 3. I kind of,
they're really good. And I've
at
seen
that time when that whole music thing changed, and I was still listening to all the bands that I loved, and then I kind of got into the whole Pearl Jam and Soundgarden thing for a little while, and then
right.
but then everything that came after that just kind of, I was a really big Blind Melon fan. I still am.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I was kind of more digging in that kind of stuff.
The 60s kind of
So
vibe type stuff.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And then all of a sudden you had all these just generic cookie cutter, whatever
yeah,
top 40, whatever they were, and I was like, you know what, I'm good. I don't need to. So, dude,
well,
I wasn't going to concerts. I wasn't doing anything with music,
right,
unless I could catch an old Warrant played Flashes in like '93. There's
right.
shows like that. If I could catch those gigs, that's what I was doing. It's
Yeah.
just like it was
Well,
sad, man.
well, my buddy Tony that I told you about that was in St. Michael, that was a guitar player guy, kind of broke up the band. He
Mhm.
was still friends with those guys in Marvelous 3 before they got signed. And he lived in Nashville, and he used to work at Tower Records. And they came through town. So we were still in the Veg, and we still had we had Oney had broken up, and me and the drummer and guitar player had started this band, a power pop band called the Veg, but we still had long hair and stuff. And we weren't going over real well. And so my buddy Tony said, "Oh man, the guys in Southgate, they've all cut their hair. They look all punk rock, and they're." He went and seen them, and he said, "Man, they're really good, really good." And so, without ever hearing one of their songs, he never told me about what the songs was or what the song sounded like. But one day on the radio, I heard "Freak of the Week," and I don't know what. I still to this day don't know what it was. But by that time, the Vague guys, we kind of cut our hair into Beatle haircuts and all that stuff. Soon as I heard that song, I knew who it was. I knew it was those guys without seeing the video, without knowing anything about them. I just, it just, I don't know. It just kind of hit me, and I was like, I know this band. I've been told by him about a year ago by my friend Tony. So and it was true. It was them. And yeah, it was weird. It was very weird. That was that whole how I knew instinctively that was them. But yeah, we did the same thing in the Vegas. We were never in Oney. Those guys are like, I went to see them and I was like, man, you guys in South Gang, and they were all like, shh.
Don't let them know. Don't let them know. But now look, man, those guys could do both reunions and probably have success with both.
Oh man, yeah.
Now,
yeah, I maybe that might lead to like a South Gang reunion. Maybe Butch will realize that, hey man, this people like this stuff. I don't know. I mean, it's all up to him.
I don't know what their deal was with Jesse. I don't know if there was a fallout. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think they grew. Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't think they grew up with him or whatever. And I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know that.
I know that when they were Bite the Bullet. One thing I do know when we were hearing about them all the time is they were like trying to push him as the pretty boy. And they were like, the record company wants to push him a lot, and he's amazing vocals and everything. Every interview is going to mention how amazing his vocals are and all that kind of stuff. So maybe like, in hindsight, maybe Butch was kind of like, he's just one part of the band. So I have no idea. But I know in the beginning of when they first came out, they were really pushing, and even when we heard about their demo deal and all that stuff, they were really going to push the singer guy and try to get him out there. And, maybe he got bugs in his ear, because that happened in the guys in Oney. A couple guys in Oney quit a couple times, because when you're in a band, man, people will come up to you all the time and go, hey, you're the guy that makes the band, not Chuck. And I had guitar player, Mickey, the guy who passed away. He would come up to me. We played 2 shows not under Oney twice in our 5.5 years. They demanded we change the name, or they weren't going to play. And we had a gig play. They demanded this on a Thursday night. So we had to play that Friday. So they were like, we're not playing under Oney anymore. And I was like, oh, okay. What do you guys want to play under? We want to play under Foreplay. That's why I have Foreplay Records. And I'm like, okay. So we played one show as Foreplay, and the crowd hated it. And they were like, you guys need to change your name back to Oney. Oney's original. Foreplay isn't. So we changed it back. Then we moved to Columbus. And at one point during we were in Columbus, there was another mutiny, and they wanted to change the name. And they were tired of it being my band and all this stuff. And I wasn't like, this is my band. I was kind of like, we're a band, like the early days of Bon Jovi. We're a band. We're just called this. Right. So that's how I always treated it. It wasn't me and them. It was all of us. We all made the band, and it was just the name, right? So we ended up maybe now, actually, this wasn't while we were in Columbus. It was right before we moved to Columbus. They threatened to change the band again, so we changed the name to Silhouette, and we never even got to play a show under Silhouette, because we started flyering, and the same fans were like, that name sucks too. So, it was like, you guys are known as Oney. A lot of people back then didn't even know it was my last name. And I never said, oh, I'm Chuck Oney. When they would ask me in interviews, I would just say, I'm Chuck. Never. So, and everybody always go, what's an Oney? And like, we would never say it's his last name. We would joke and say it means the devil in Japanese, which it does. But our main joke, it's with an I. but our main go-to was it's an Indian god that has a 10-inch penis. That was,
Right.
that was our
Nice.
go-to. It's named after an Indian god that has a 10-inch penis. So
Nice.
Dude, I would have gladly sold you guys the rights to sex toys for very little money.
I'm sure that, yeah,
why? We got 10-inch penises. We don't need those.
You guys are the sex toys. And,
um,
and there's a little bit of Satanism in there too. Satanic
Yeah.
10-inch sex toys. There you go. There's
Yes.
your band name.
Yeah, but
yeah,
it is true. In Japanese, Oni means the devil. So,
Oni devil. Yeah, I mean,
but
yeah,
it's
I mean,
spelled with
There's
it's
actually
spelled
an
with an
old
I.
horror,
O-N-E.
Japanese horror movie with that back in the 60s.
yeah, I mean, it's a cool. I mean, it doesn't strike like a last name. I didn't know what's your last name, so it sounds like a
Yeah,
word that doesn't mean.
right.
It's not.
Like onyx or
Yeah,
something
it's
like
not
that.
like
But
it's
for the
really
longest time,
tricky.
man, I didn't
It's
even know
not
how.
bad.
I wasn't sure how to pronounce it. So
Oh
when I
yeah,
was
well,
like listening to you guys, I didn't know.
oh yeah, we would. Yeah, I still get that to this day, but we would play clubs and the DJ would announce us as Oney or Oney. Oney or
Money.
Oney was
That.
big, and we would sometimes see it up on the like some bars we played, and they would write like chalk on the menu or whatever on the wall, and it would be Onay. We every so actually funny story. When I was in the VAG, when we three of us started the VAG, I was like, let's pick a name that everybody knows. No last name. Let's just pick a name. So we thought everybody would know the name the VAG. We were called the Vage, the Vagu, and it was spelled wrong all the
Bagu.
time. We're like, Jesus Christ, I can't ever be in a band that has like a normal name.
Well, I think that isn't that how isn't there a funny story on how the Who got their name, something like that? Like they were gonna play a show and they had like a complicated name, and like the presenter didn't know how to pronounce it. So when he read it out, he said the Who, and and that's how they got their name.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I
That
know they were
worked.
the high numbers for a while, but yeah, yeah, it's weird band names.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, Jack. So, all right. So, we're at the hour mark, so we're gonna wrap it up. But
Okay.
before we go, I wanted to ask you the same thing we ask everyone, and that's to list out what would be your, I don't know, it can be three or five or whatever. Yeah, your desert island albums.
Oh, okay. Sure. I will go with I will put on the top of it Dress to Kill by Kiss. I
All
will
right.
go Magical Mystery Tour by the Beatles.
Nice.
And I would probably at this point in my life, actually, you know what? I'll have to go with this one. Motley Crue's first record, Too
Oh
Fast
yeah,
for Love.
fantastic album.
It's a cool top 10.
I'm gonna add another one. Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil, because I love them both equally.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I mean, all classics, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I probably, if I had to add one more, would probably I would add two more. I would add Paul Stanley's solo record, Saved My Life, and I really love Bon Jovi's first record. That's a
I
favorite of
mean,
mine.
you should add Oney demo. You can sell that for $600 and get like I don't know, like a ticket out
I'm gonna
of the different
I'm gonna let
islands.
you guys list that. I got the only demo for 650.
Hey, if we could only sell like 1 million of those for $652 each.
I would, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. How life would be different.
I wish I had some more of the $90 cassette ones. I'd sell like 10 of them and go on vacation.
Right. All
Go
right,
visit
man.
Stancy in Argentina.
Yeah, I mean, South American tour. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I would be remiss, you know, the at the you know about the cassette coming out with Roger, our buddy Roger,
All right.
Rock City Records. So hopefully we'll get that out soon.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Cool. All right. Yeah. I mean, let us know, and we'll promote every anything basically. So you
Well,
can
Yeah, right on. I will
Do you have
too.
a website or anything? Anything people
Oney
can?
has a Facebook page, and I have a music of Chuck Oney. You know, we're Facebook friends too, and I also have a music page. So, and I have my own website. So I'll tag the link up to the podcast on there. Um,
Okay.
Yeah.
but yeah, we'll get
I
it
don't know
out.
I don't know if you're Facebook friends, so I'll send you a friend
Yeah,
request.
send me on Facebook. I have a music page, and then I have my own page. They're both under Chuck Oney. I'm trying to think of the music page picture is probably me playing guitar, and
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I
I
found it.
can't
Okay.
remember. It might be me and the Marvelous. It might be me and Butch Walker, and when the Vague hung out with Marvelous 3 back in '98
Yeah.
is my personal one. So send them, yeah,
Cool.
like my music page, and then send me a personal one.
All right, we'll do. Awesome. All right, man. Thank you so much for being on the show. I had a great time. I'm sure Dave
It,
as well.
it was an
Always.
honor for me. It's an honor for me. I probably talked too much, and I apologize, but I loved hearing your guys' stories too. Like I loved hearing you start
Musicians,
to get
right?
kicked.
Musicians, right? What you gonna do, right?
I loved hearing you get kicked out of a band, and then I heard you, Dave, get sucking it on your show. Okay.
All you got to
All right.
remember is sex toys. That's all you need to
Sex
remember.
toys.
Okay, man. Thank you so much, and we'll
Hey,
talk
have a
again
great
soon.
night. See you
Chuck, thank
guys.
you, man.
No
Have a good
problem.
day.
Thank you guys.
Take care, man.
Yep.